In Love with Love fam. First of all, happy Valentine's Day.
Yes.
Nicole and I are coming to you guys to wish you a happy Valentine's Day, to tell you guys how much we love you and how much we are grateful that you are a part of our community.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And to also share with you how excited we were to film the episode that's getting ready to come up.
We're so excited. We cannot wait to share this first ever exclusive interview with our guest.
Yeah, they were really good.
Mr. and Mrs. Armstrong.
Yeah, they were awesome. And we know that as you guys watch this episode, you guys are going to pick up so many of the nuggets and nuggets of hope, nuggets of inspiration. And most of all, the one that I feel was how beautiful love is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Love is so beautiful.
I love, you said this a minute ago when we were talking and chatting, the transparency.
Yeah.
The authenticity. And really the humbleness of heart. I loved it.
So as you guys watch this episode, make sure that you comment, you chime in, and that you listen with open ears and an open heart, just as we did. We love you guys, and we look forward to hearing from you. Bye. Now for Kaz and Jazz's love story. Awesome. All right, everybody. We are in season 3 of In Love with Love podcast. I am Anja here with my co-host. Yes. And we are here talking to Jazz and Kaz. Kaz and Jazz.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Awesome. So, first of all, please tell us a little bit about yourself. You're as a couple.
You want to speak? Go ahead.
As a couple about us, what do I say about us as a couple? Like what do you mean?
Who are you guys? Where are you guys from? Both.
We usually say introduce one another. Like you were introducing her. How would you do it? How would you introduce him?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay. I would I am introducing Kaz, my husband. I have to say that because I just got married, so that's very new for me. But Kaz is very kind. That's one of the main things that really drew me to him. If I had to introduce him and no one knew him, I would definitely start by saying how kind he is. He has an amazing, huge heart. He loves people. He's in the service business as far as work goes. He just doesn't meet a stranger. When I say everyone loves him, he loves God. He loves God for real. He loves my family like he loves me. He is the love of my life. I love him. He loves my dogs. There are dogs now.
They have to grow on me, okay? Because I wasn't a dog person. But thank you for all the
that was good.
And as you guys know, this is my wife Jasmine. The sweet, kind woman, sometimes edgy, and I don't know which direction she's coming from. The one that like to pop from behind the walls and play sleep all the time. But the charismatic woman and a woman that is gentle and fragile at times with a hard exterior, and I think that I just see through her sometimes. She tends to be so hard, but I can just see all the softness in her, and that's one of the things that drew me to her from her caring heart. She actually care like a lot of women do not care. We say we care, but she showed me a different side, and I had to pray on her and curious what God was trying to give me before I ran away from it. And I'm glad that God said this was the one because I'm not sure she would still be waiting or somebody else will have her, but I'm glad God stopped me in this position.
Can't wait to hear that. Okay, now.
That was deep. That was very, very deep. So how long have you guys been married?
So we have been married since August of 23. So almost this year will be 2 years.
Oh, wow.
We didn't tell anybody. We kept it just between us for when did we told our family a few months afterwards, but like we didn't like announce it or make it public. Just because we were enjoying marriage and doing it how we felt that God was leading us to do. And it just kind of got to a point like we need to say something. And like
So hold
Wow.
on, hold on, hold on. Everybody needs to know this is an exclusive interview. We need like
yes.
what is it? Put the soundtracks in there when you
Sound
edit it.
alarm. Yes, girl. It's exclusive.
And I must say, to follow up with that, I know everyone knows the traditional way of doing things, and because the way that we did meet, and we met in God's speed, so God was speeding us up so fast. We really had no time to do anything traditionally, so we said we're just going to do it God's way, and we talked to God about it, and we said we're going to keep this covenant between you, I, and God, and that's how we began to take our journey. But we had hopes for the wedding. We had hopes for, our living situations. But God was just working with us, and He was hitting us hard. And every time we wanted to go a different direction with things, God would just pound us on the head and say, "Hey, this is the way I want it." And we were listening because also at times we didn't know where the voices was coming from. So, yeah, we have a very interesting story, but we say Godspeed. God did it.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna slow down talking about speed. We're gonna take our time with that and unpack because the people want to know. Listen, we've been talking about for the last couple of seasons supernatural love, supernatural marriage. So it sounds like that's what that is. Understanding that when it's supernatural, it's under the umbrella and of the blessing, if you will, of God, and that could be anything because that's the high level of faith. Sometimes we have to believe in to get to the next level in that relationship. So I'm excited.
I want to ask prior to this, were either of you guys looking for what you got? And what I mean by that is was there a party who was praying and fasting about marriage, or really just seeking the Lord about it, like really waiting and hungering for it, wanting to see the promise? Were either of you guys in that place and space?
Well, hold on. He's pointing. But here it's an interesting thing because yes, for me, absolutely. But Kaz actually met him at a time that I was in my very much date 'em all stage. So while I was still believing God for marriage, praying and fasting for it, I was actually at a place in my singleness where I was like over it. I was exhausted. I was just like, this is taking way too long. I have to do something different. And so, because I felt like life was passing me by and I wasn't enjoying it because I felt like I was following this traditional route of, and again, I very much believe in date with purpose, but I also got to a place where I'm like, what about just having fun? What about just
Mhm.
meeting people, going out, enjoying life? And so I signed up for every app there was. I went on so many dates the summer I met him. Like it was cracking. Like my summer was amazing. And so while I did believe in all those things, I was really at a place of tension with God, but where I also just had to surrender, like, there is clearly no method to this. There's no strategy because I've tried it all. I've done it all. I don't know what else to do. And so I'm like, I just have to live at some point. And Kaz, and he'll go into it, like we were very opposite. Like it's a miracle he and I are even together just because we were so different in terms of our lifestyle. I was at a place where like my relationship with God was number one. Kaz had a relationship with God, always has, but he kind of like veered away. So we would have never really, it wouldn't have worked out. And I'm surprised that it did and that it does so well, but it's a miracle.
And I
Yeah, it
think if I could
was.
just interject, Jasmine, because that's so good, and I want to let people marinate on what you're saying, especially from the Christian, I'm gonna say Black single woman experience. Everybody going to the conferences, we're so groomed to pray, to fast, to be in this mentorship, to go to that conference, take the notes, read the book, write, and so like you're saying, there's no necessarily real formula, but what's tailor made and really written in your book in heaven. Um, but just to kind of pause it, because I hear in that you really unpacking for the audience your evolution and your journey of self-awareness, which is we're talking about emotional intelligence, and as it relates to your Christian walk, and as it relates to being a single, and as it relates to dating, and so I think that's valuable, even having researched you, I'll say it that way, and understanding, you know, I think for you it's two extremes when you even came into Christianity and were born like you live fast and hard, I think, from what I'm researching and then
Absolutely.
understanding. And so finding the balance, right? It sounded like that was just this journey to find the balance. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was just an interesting place to be in life because again, and you know me, Nicole, so you have some background and some history of me. I came from the partying and doing all those things, and then I went on this like super strict, I'm living for God and only God. And I still believe in that and I still support that. Go to the conferences, buy the books, do all the things. But I believe looking back, there was some idolatry of marriage and of relationships and wanting to be found and how to go about doing that. I really bought into the lie of do this and this will happen. And I
the
did it
formula that you mentioned,
the
like, so it
formula.
wasn't, yeah.
It doesn't exist. And it took me way too long to realize that. And emotional intelligence, self-awareness, I had to take some accountability in my journey of where, and unknowingly, you can slip into idolatry unknowingly. Of where it's like, man, I really wanted that more than God, if I'm honest. Because I'm like, life just didn't feel worth living, or why should I buy a house? Why should I do this? I was waiting on this relationship, this marriage, and life was just passing me by. And so it's really one of my greatest regrets as a single person. I'm glad I saved myself. I'll never regret that, ever, because I know what that's like in dating. So I'll never regret that. But I truly regret not experiencing and enjoying as much as my single life had to offer because I thought that to do it, I should wait for a husband.
And that's because they tell you to, though. I mean, my hope is that the church, and I say the church in this kind of way because that is the voice of reason. That's the voice that a lot of us are carrying. We are told messages such as, you can't do certain things until your partner comes, and by can't meaning like then that's when the two become one. That's when things are, and I do believe that God will have things in place for that purpose, but He created us individually.
Right.
And
The
so
story isn't as glamorous when you're single. Buying a house, I mean, I bought my first condo by myself. But yeah, I wanted to wait. I wanted to do that with my husband. That was supposed to be my first experience. So it's not as glamorous when you're doing these things by yourself, traveling to see the world. Like that's amazing, but it's not as glamorized on social media and within Christian marriages that you're doing these things by yourself. You should be with someone showing the pictures,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
those things.
And that's a
absolutely,
part of,
you look like you just partying.
that's
Exactly.
a part of what Anja and I really, it's a part of the foundation of the fabric of In Love with Love, because we say that we are celebrating life with Christ, love, right? And we are enjoying all the things that it brings, because we do have a great time. We love to travel and we love to go and do things for the gospel, all of the things,
Yeah,
while still desiring marriage. Because
absolutely.
what we found is a lot of either the church is saying it, and I'm not poo-pooing on the church, but sometimes there are some voices that are saying, you can't say don't celebrate or don't have hope or don't desire something, right? But what's wrong with saying you desire something that's godly and that God wants you to have? If it's really a part of your destiny, that's fueling your faith. And so our mantra is to, celebrate where you are while still saying, hey, I'm celebrate where I'm going to.
Absolutely. I love that. Absolutely.
So carrying that all that you had in the place where you were when you met Kaz. And then Kaz, how did that look to you?
It may be very uncomfortable because I was praying that God you would lead me. I didn't believe in relationships at one point. I was single in Atlanta, and
He was very single in Atlanta.
Atlanta they spoil men, and
Yes,
also
yes. Say it again. Say it again.
they spoil men, and also I had opened myself up to a relationship after not having one for so long, and I began to put myself through rehab, and that's personal mental rehab, as in talking to God, asking Him to open up my heart again, make me feel emotions, because at some
Ooh,
point I've
Jesus.
lost it. But long story short, I was on the brink of turning away from a relationship because I thought I had met love, and I had opened up my heart, and my heart got hurt. So with me being the guy that I was, I said, "Hey, I don't get hurt." So I began to break down to God and say, "God, once I walk out of this, I'm going back into the streets. I'm going back to what I know. I'm going back to spreading my spirit in different directions. And unless he showed me otherwise." And I remember breaking down in my dad's house in the dark. And something just I wasn't talking to Jazz, and something just broke me down. And I give that credit to God. And I said, you know what? I need to apologize to those people who I think that I've hurt, because I know I'm fit to go on a new brink and give myself a fresh start. And I gave her a call, and I began to apologize to her, just to release some things to her. But I was not looking for a relationship. I had made up my mind that I'm not about to date anyone, because a relationship didn't feel like the old me. I was having more fun outside of one. I had to be too considerate. And then no one really told me about the emotions and the heartbreak that comes with it. I finally understood what it felt for a woman to feel heartbreak by a man. And I was like, oh, I don't like that feeling. So that's the defense mechanism a lot of single people use when, hey, I'm single. I'm gonna move how I want to move. I'm gonna do what I want to move. And I used that for so many years in Atlanta until God broke me down. And when I did think that I was about to go back into the streets and do what I wanted to do, I had to visit Atlanta for my job, and end up visiting her. And God just began to work on me again. And I knew that one weekend, when I was beginning to leave the city again, the Lord broke my car down at her house, and He said I wasn't going anywhere. So, God, that's why I say all of this was in God's speed. God just did a whole lot, because I was not looking for a relationship. I was trying not to even care for another woman again, and He showed me otherwise.
So hold on, let me get some clarification. You said called her back to apologize. So had you guys had a rendezvous before, or had you guys had some
I
interactions before?
Yeah, I'll explain it. Yeah, I met her, and we just stopped
Where?
talking.
Oh,
I
let me.
met
We
her
met on,
online.
yeah, we met on an app online. So I was in Atlanta, Kaz was in Louisiana. So it was like this long distance thing. But I had only given us like 3 months. Because again, you in another state, I'm in another state. Where is this going? And before my deadline, he started moving real weird. And I'm like, oh, like something, because he came off so charming, so nice at first, and then the whole script like flipped. But I was on my way to where I was, Mexico with my friends. I was like,
Man,
no, we at the expiration. Like I really liked him, but I wasn't pressed. You know what I mean? And so, but it
Mm-hmm.
kind of ended on a bad note because, like I said, I felt like he was moving funny. And for what reason? Like, what you got a lot like?
And that's because I didn't see any pressure from her. She never showed her face. And I was walking in and out of things. And again,
He was
she was in
talking.
another state. She was in another state. And I really didn't care, because I didn't know how it was going to go. But she made me like her enough. But also, what the enemy did, I found myself confiding in her too much. I was telling her a lot of secrets about me. I was telling her how I felt. And the enemy hit me. It was like, hey, you telling this girl everything. She's not telling you anything.
this
Why are
other
you
girl.
telling her?
Me.
Her.
Oh, he's talking about you.
Yeah, I'm talking about her. And
Okay.
I had locally where I was from, people was around me, but it's like, hey, she's out of state. You're telling her too much. She's just been a listening ear. She's not, you don't know nothing about her. Nothing personal. You don't know anything. You just telling her so much. So as her feeling was right, I began to back up a little, and I began to stop talking to her as much. And I began to not answer the phone like I was, because it's like, right now she's just a listening ear. I ain't trying to just have that. She's not telling me nothing. So I'm gonna go back and forth doing what I'm doing. And I didn't want to be where I was at, because I was just walking out of a relationship with someone that I knew was not good for me. But because it was convenient for me, I kept crossing the line, going back and forth. And it's like, okay, Jasmine's in another state, out of sight, out of mind. And then we stopped talking. And I think when I was really preparing myself to really just give up on everything and everyone, I broke down in my father's house and began to pray in the dark and cried out to God. didn't know where the prayer came from, didn't know why I was praying, didn't know why I was crying because I wasn't an avid prayer. I wasn't an avid churchgoer. I didn't know the scriptures, and I'm still learning that with my wife, but my dad is a pastor, but he never forced the church on
Oh,
me.
that's good.
So not knowing why I was crying, I left it there and I began to text different people, but I actually text her and then we had a phone call. And it was something about the way we got off the phone. I didn't think none of it. And flowers began to bloom.
Can we hear? That's powerful. That's the thought more than you know. And because we never get the opportunity to really hear the male voice, like we know our own perspective back and
Yeah.
forward in the dark. So we really would love to just continue to hear, like, can you unpack even more, Kaz, the evolution of you, like how to walk us up to like you as how old are you? Do you mind me asking?
I'm 37.
You're 37. So
Mhm.
walk us up to that point, like you as the young man, you evolving and like you said, your experiences with, maybe like protecting your heart or things like that. Just kind of walk us up to this place, the
Yeah,
evolution.
yeah, I was what 20 when I came to Atlanta. I'm gonna try to speed it up for you because it's a lot of images that's vivid when I come here. But I was 20 when I first came to Atlanta, come to fashion school, and I had to hurry on how Atlanta operated. It was filled with women and also with filled with gay men, and it's a lot of the sexualities here. They're very fluid and open here. And I had no need for a girlfriend once I realized that the women were very aggressive here. And it took me by storm. I began to speak with different people, and I realized that, hey, if you're honest, you get whatever you want out of Atlanta. And the women was coming by the numbers. And it just groomed me. Before I knew it, I was in deep. And before I knew it, I wasn't hearing from God anymore. When I first came, God was my conscience. He'd say, hey, don't do this. Hey, have you prayed today? Hey, have you blessed your food? It got so deep with me that I didn't hear a voice anymore. I wasn't blessing my food. I wasn't praying. I wasn't saying anything. And I didn't even use profane language when I first got here. And I find myself began to use words because now I was letting all the spirits in me that can come from any direction. So I made up my mind 2017. I was doing work in the industry. I used to wardrobe consulting fashion style people. I said, hey, I need to slow down. But God, I don't know how to slow down. At this point, I didn't even call it an addiction, but now that I look back, I had a real addiction to women and sexual activity and things the way that I liked it. And if someone wasn't agreeing, okay, that's cool. Somebody else about to come through. So you can either stay here or you can leave. But I didn't have any emotional feelings. If you want to talk to me about emotions and feelings, hey, that's not me. Go talk to your guy about that. And I realized the way women moved around here as well. Women will have men, but they would come see their side guys, or women would have men, but because the men were so controlling, they wanted to experience different things, and they wanted to come to the fun guy. They want to come to the guy that go out. They want to come to the guy that can get them in the nice spots. I was that guy. Oh, he won't do that with you? Okay. I'm gonna take you on top of this building. Okay, I'm gonna go do this with you. Oh yeah, you got a friend too? I want to do it. I was the fun guy. And not knowing that, hey, I wasn't just fumbling with them, they was taking me. So I asked God, give me back value. Let me take myself back. Remove these people. I'm not just going to be mean to anyone, but God, let my phone stop ringing. So I began to wash my car for a hobby instead of going to the clubs. And that's when God broke me down. I was in an accident, and my father asked me to come home. And that's when I said, hey, I would give a relationship a try because as I was hurt on my bed, there was no one there to give me my medicine. There was no one there to bathe me. There was no one there to really say, "Hey, babe, you have food. You have you eaten anything?" A friend to come around every now and then. But as I looked at the ceiling and I was hurt on my bed, I realized there was no one there for me. And that's what we often forget when we try to celebrate singlehood and we let so much time go by. Who is going to be there for you? Who are you preparing to start a new life with? Who are
Good,
you
Cass.
planning to procreate with? And it hit me like a ton of bricks. And it said, hey, I know I've done a lot. And God forgive me for what I've done to women because even though they agreed to some things, no woman really want a guy that's not committed to them. But to keep that hard shell up, they'll say, "Oh, I'm down because you're down." But anytime I found a woman began to like me, I shut her down, and that's why I went on a rampage of let me apologize to some people because I may have went through good women, but they wasn't for me, and I had to do that to cleanse myself until I got to Jasmine, and I think by the time I got to Jasmine and feeling the hurt that I felt, I knew that I was making myself vulnerable because none of us want to be vulnerable. A man, a woman, a man has pride. A woman just want to protect themselves, but they can't at times. So I said that God, if you put me back out there, I'm going to make sure I remain vulnerable because at one point I wasn't, and I wasn't intact with my emotions. So when I
Can we
met
pause
Jasmine,
right there? You are giving. I don't think you realize how much you giving. You giving. You giving. You giving. And so the people, and we're gonna have to pause anyway. So we're gonna come back. There's gonna be a part two because I have a question for you, Cass. Thank you so much. Let's pause right there.